In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 70 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Portland in Oregon talking with Niki Diamond. Niki is the brewery owner and manager of Away Days Brewing. Away Days is an independent, community-orientated, and experience-driven brewery in Southeast Portland with a focus on European lagers and English ales. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Well, Niki,
Yeah.
welcome to the Swell Pod and the part of the Kiln Road Trip. Thanks for being one of the 100.
Wow, thanks for having me.
You're from England, so just tell me a little bit about maybe your full name, where you're from, or and what you do, and why you're passionate about that.
Brilliant. My name's Niki Diamond. I'm from England, as you noticed. Born in Kent, near Dover, southeast corner of the country. When I was 7, I moved to New Jersey. So I was a proper little New Jersey girl from the age of 7 till 11, and then moved to Germany. Actually, with both moves were with my dad's job. Lived in Germany from 11 to 18. So those real formative teenage beer drinking years were spent in Germany. And then when I turned 18, I moved back to England. I went to university in Newcastle. Newcastle, then to London. We were in London for about 6 years, then moved to Amsterdam for a couple of years, and then here. Been in Portland for 14 years now.
Wow.
Don't you just love that accent?
It's a great accent. I do like it.
It's so weird. People go, "Oh, do you miss England?" I'm like, "Oh, England's amazing, but I enjoy the things in America." But whenever I go and visit and I hear the accent, or I'm on a train from London to Leeds or something, I'm like, "Oh man, I like this."
I just went back to England for the first time in 5 years this summer. We got 2 kids, so getting back now is two kids and 2 businesses for a long period of time. And so I went back and I was at Heathrow, and someone said, "All right, love," and I just burst into tears.
Oh yeah, gosh. So what? Tell us a little bit about what you do and why you're passionate about that.
Yeah. So my background is brand and marketing. I started after university as a marketing assistant for a small women's wear brand in London. Then moved into agency life and kind of worked through project management to account management, and then working with brand strategy teams and projects for our clients. So I love storytelling. I love making emotional connections. I love the kind of power of telling a richer story to just kind of to represent who you are out in the world. When we had our first child, my Lucy, after she was born, I went back to agency life a little bit. I was freelancing, but it wasn't the same as being properly in a team, being in a place. My husband, Pete, and I, we've always dreamt about doing something, opening something. When we were in our 20s, and, we met at university. So we met, I was 19. It was a long time ago. In our 20s, we dreamt of opening a bar on a beach with sound system and decks and parties. And then, we moved into our 30s, and we were like, well, maybe we'll open but this was before Airbnb was a big thing. Like, when we retire, we'll have a bed and breakfast, and we'll just live out somewhere, and we'll just have a bed and breakfast, and we'll, drink with guests in the evening and cook breakfast with them in the morning. And then, so after I decided I didn't really want to be back in the agency world, at the same time, Pete's brother, Jack, was moving out here to get married to an American girl who he had met on a previous visit. to us. And he had been running a pub back at home. So we suddenly kind of just, the stars aligned a little bit. I had worked in bars since I was 15 in Germany, legal age was 16. I said I was 16. I got a job behind a bar when I was 15. So we kind of just had this, like I said, stars aligned, and suddenly it seemed like the right time to try and do something. Yeah. We saw a massive opportunity. I think we'll get into this, but I think where we like to position ourselves with our businesses is always thinking about a slightly different target audience to what the norm is in the industry. So we'd lived here for 6 or 7 years at this point, and we saw a massive opportunity for the pub culture, first of all. Like people would say, what do you miss about going back home? And it was like friends, family, and pubs. And ideally friends and family in pubs. It's like there's no specific order there, actually. That pub culture is something that just isn't, it's rare to find here. And then we also, the Portland's a football town, soccer for our American friends. And it's massively followed by, the women's team has an incredible following. But nowhere in Portland until Sports Bra now, who is, I don't know if you've come across Sports Bra, but they're the first, they show only women's sports. Okay. It's incredible. But back then, no one was focusing on the women's team. And even the men's team, you went into these places and it was a very specific demographic of people. It was, as not a diehard football fan, I felt out of place. Yeah. I felt like I didn't know enough. I felt like, So we wanted to open a pub that was an English pub, but it was a football pub. And it was an inclusive football pub. So it doesn't matter where you're from, gender, race, whether you're like massive, grown up generational fan or if you're brand new to it. So we opened the pub in the Toffee Club in 2016. And then in 2018, there was a brewery that was in the same building as us. And they were closing down. So they asked us if we wanted to take over the space and open up a brewery. And at that time, I had a 1-year-old, I've lost track. 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and like a 2-year-old business, let's say. So absolutely not. And then it took us all of 2 days of talking about it. We're like, fuck it, we're going to do it. It's too big an opportunity. And also, if someone else does it really well, we'll be gutted, you know? So we started Away Days. So we kind of built this brand. It was a brand that we'd been kind of, building in the back of our heads for a while. So we built a brand, Away Days, all around an away day. So going to travel in England, it's a cultural term for going to travel to watch your team. And it's a day of like camaraderie and sports and beer and just kind of shared experiences.
Love that, yeah.
So hence came Away Days. And we've been open 4 years now. Away Days, I think our approach there, what we wanted to do differently was, there's a brewery aesthetic and there's a kind of an assumption. It's a little bit, you go into an English pub at home and it feels like a pub, There was a brewery aesthetic here that was kind of becoming to feel very generic. And it didn't have the warmth and the history and the everything of the pub culture. So we wanted to kind of break that and build a brewery for people who love beer but don't love breweries. So the tap room is bright and modern, got big mural. We make pink merch. It's just like, it's kind of like off the expectation of what a brewery looks like. We focus on European styles. So we do a lot of English ales, a lot of European lagers. We've got 2 cask engines. We almost never have more than 2 IPAs on our tap list, which in Portland, no brewery ever says there's too many IPAs on our tap list. And if we ever find that we've got, we had 3 IPAs on the tap list recently and it felt very strange. So just different approach to beer. We say we're making boring beer cool because it's like, it's those classic old styles, our ESB and our bitter.
Well, first of all, well done.
That's amazing.
Cool. Like, obviously you've got a story of storytelling and brand and being different and not just going with the standard boring stuff. And we could go into that, like where does that come from? yeah, that's great stuff, and it's speaking my language. So, at least for just doing stuff in a different way, stuff you're passionate about, but kind of challenging the status quo. Where do you want to go with this question wise? I know you're a big soccer fan.
Soccer story, story probably more than soccer, but no, it's. I think it's really interesting what you've done. I would love to know more about some of the challenges that you faced.
Yeah.
I mean, I love how you talk about, you're very deliberate with the aesthetic and a lot of the choices that you've made, because you have it sounds like a very specific vision, and I love that. But I would also any challenges that you faced as you've been building this.
Yeah, I mean, massive, because we've just gone through a pandemic.
Yeah,
you know, we opened Away Days 6 months before the pandemic hit.
Oh my goodness!
So at that point, we had 2 businesses that were hospitality driven. Which on paper sounds like a disaster, but as in fact, we'd had the pub for about 4 years by then, and our community was incredible. And as soon as everything shut down, they said, how can we support you? We're like, buy our beer, buy our Baker home sausage rolls, so we basically, we kept our bar manager, our kitchen manager, and our brewer on staff. Our brewer kept brewing. We got a tabletop canner. Between our brewer and our kitchen manager and our bar manager, I think they can. I mean, I don't know. Not hundreds of thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. I don't know. Thousands at least of cans. Our kitchen manager was prepping up Baker at home sausage rolls. We did pie and mash. So it was like Baker at home pie and mash kits. We did toilet roll packs. You know, kind of everything what everyone was doing. So we were able to kind of shift there to take so much of this support and this following into Away Days. So that carried on for a bit, and then we all know the journey of the pandemic. The Toffee Club, we reopened after 1.5 years of being closed. The restrictions here went on for quite a long time compared to, I think, most other places. And we couldn't reopen before before they dropped all of the capacity restrictions. Because when we tried to reopen in the summer of 2020, I only had 7 tables in my pub. And if you had one person sat at a table, you couldn't sit anyone else with them. We'd have regulars come to the door and trying to get in to watch a game, and there'd be 15 people in the pub, and I'd be like, I can't seat you anymore. So we just decided we wanted to reopen when it felt like very safe and very enjoyable and celebratory. We didn't want to go back to those 2020 days where it's like everyone's going through the motions. And so we reopened. And unfortunately, business just never came back. Behaviors had changed. Everyone had all their subscriptions at home. So, getting up at 6 a.m. to watch a football game just wasn't, that wasn't on anyone's routine anymore, really. So we were open for 1.5 years. So we reopened in 2021. And at the end of last year, we closed Toffee Club, actually. Just our lease came to an end. It was either that or extend for another 5 years. We just thought, put the energy into the business that has the potential as well. Because the different business models are, Toffee Club, it was bums on seats. It was what you could sell over the bar physically in that moment, a pint of beer, Bloody Mary, a pie. Away Days, the business model is much more varied. You have multiple revenue streams. You've got your tap room, which is, that's your highest profit margin. That's where you build your experiences. That's where you make your connections. But you've got wholesale. You can do events. You can, it's just a much more sustainable business model.
Yeah.
So we decided to put everything into there.
That's great.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask, how can we taste this food, or where can we go? Is it open today? Is it open tonight?
Yeah, I'm opening at 4:00 this afternoon.
4:00. Now
we should go.
And that's Away Days.
That's Away Days.
And that's a physical space. I think I might have missed the Toffee Club, but we don't need to worry about that other than the fact that we can go and grab some food. Yeah,
we don't have food anymore.
Okay,
we actually shared the kitchen with the Toffee Club. When the Toffee Club closed, the kitchen went.
Right.
The tap room's open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we've got food carts nearby. So we always say you can bring food cart food in, and but we're pouring pints.
There we go. And football, I missed that as well. But the football's on, or do you?
Yeah, we open for some of the games.
Yeah, okay.
It's a much smaller space.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a funny one because you almost don't want to fill it too much with football fans because then your brewery people come. It's there's a balance there for sure. But
what I find interesting about that is the community. Did you expect the community to help you in the way that they did? Like, you must have been for a while just thought this is the end, pretty much.
It was so incredibly humbling to see how many people, like the outpouring of support. And that's what, not that we could have got out of our lease because you're so tied in, but that was what motivated us to reopen in 2021 because the people, how many people were just like, we're here, we'll stand behind you. So yeah.
What do you think what was it about that resonated with them? I mean, obviously the individuals will have known you and your partner and just liked you, just liked the relationship and want to support you, but it was what was it that resonated most?
It's a good question. I don't exactly know. I think there was something in the culture that we built coming from the more pub culture where it was that very kind of, incredibly inclusive. You could go on your own. You could bring your granny. You could do your 40th birthday party there. Like it was just this very kind of wherever you are, you're welcome and you'll
very
be
inclusive.
Comfortable. Yeah. We also, we'd lived in Portland for about 6 years before we opened the Toffee Club. And I think there was only one bartender who knew our name. And we went out a lot. And we were like, we want, that is that cheesy cheers thing, but that was the culture that we opened with, where we were like, we want our team to know our regulars. I want to remember like, oh, how was your trip back home? Or, like kind of just like make that emotional connection with people that everyone's looking for, but just wasn't necessarily the norm. So I think there was just like a few different layers that somehow we were able to build this thing and it clicked with people.
That's great.
Yeah. We are very close.
Yeah.
I do think we should probably make a stop in there tonight.
Yeah.
So how did you find yourself in this interview, I guess? Do you know people at Kiln? Do you have a hot desk at a Kiln? Like, help me understand that.
Yeah. So our brewery is 1 block away.
Yeah.
You can actually see the Toffee Club from one of the windows. My sister-in-law is with the New Soho House in Portland, and they're based here. Okay. So she's here. Yeah. I had come in because I'm always on the cell. So I had come in with beers and met the team here just to say, if you're ever doing an event, So I think me coming in with beers, my sister-in-law Kayla being in here, being a block away. Yeah. That's kind of how the connection came. So we've done a happy hour here, and then there was a opening party a few weeks ago. So we did the bar. Yeah. So yeah, just neighbors.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Answer.
What do you think of the place?
Yeah.
The vibe.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's absolutely stunning.
You know the designer is English.
Oh really? Makes sense.
I mean, there's a founder is Erin Lewis, but his co-founder is Lee Radford, and from Barclays Bank. He's from London. He still is in London, and there's a vibe in a certain design element. Yeah.
Well, I knew the space from the previous tenants, and they'd done a lovely job as well. But this is it's really brought it into its own.
That's great. So I think you already covered challenges, and you've covered a lot of different things. Just a really short, concise kind of answer around what is your vision going forward. I mean, you're not doing more than surviving. I mean, you're just trying to keep this going. But what do you think kind of a couple of years from now?
Yeah.
Vision.
So we're opening a second location. We're in the process of opening a spot in Troutdale, which is just along the gorge. It's beautiful. It's the old city hall. So we'll be opening a brewery and tap room in there. Our vision is to be the brewery that stands out, but that also is a local and a fave, Our brand story is beer worth traveling for, kind of ties into the Away Days name. And And our dream would be to have breweries in these kind of destinations. So you're actually traveling for your beer. And each location is localized and kind of fit for the community that it's in. So Troutdale, we're going to very much focus on the Troutdale community and kind of not feeling like a Portland brewery that's in Troutdale. When we thought about how our brand expands, we concepted Away Days Palm Springs. You know, what does that look like, and how do you localize that for that market?
Right.
And then Away Days Portland, you know, that one, that's kind of localized. It's more football focused because it was tied into the Toffee Club.
Yeah.
And so each one probably kind of expresses itself a little bit differently, but the core is always this European hospitality, European beer, community focused.
That's great, having those different. We've been traveling, right? As we kind of resonates. We're trying to get the vibes and the, you know, really understand each community as we travel around, and we feel that difference. And so you're trying to make it distinctively different, so people can go on these away days. It's great.
Not like a cookie cutter thing, you know, like actually understand where you are,
right,
and what people are looking for in that space.
Yeah, not easy to do, but you're solving that.
Tried.
That's great.
If it's okay, I'm going to ask one more question before we get to that last one.
Yes, it's the last one.
Leading into it. How's it been for you taking your brand and your marketing expertise and infusing that into your own thing? Like, what does that felt like for you? Does it feel freeing, enjoyable? Are there any things that we wouldn't expect to know, like maybe some of those challenges? But tell me about that.
So I think it's interesting. My background's brand and marketing. My husband's a designer, and we try to run restaurants, you know. And so we look at experiences from the customer standpoint first, always. You know, how are people going to feel? How are people going to, you know, what stories are people going to walk away with after they come and engage with us? So what I learned at the Toffee Club was, like, I had to hire really good people who knew the actual business and know how to price up fish and chips, and because that's not my specialty. But I think, if we're talking about how, like, our background makes things different, I think it is that the thoughtfulness of what your interaction and your experience is going to be, and how you're going to feel when you are a part of what we do.
That's fantastic. It
is.
I love that.
Isn't it cool that you can apply those types of first principles to any software, experience, service, as long as you can catch the vision of, you know, from what are you trying to create, the experience, the feeling, it really applies to everything. You just got to believe that that's important and be distinctively different. And
I think to that point, like, you have to believe in it, and you have to follow your instinct. And often it's not the easiest way, and maybe it's not the best way for business in the moment either, but for the long term, like, you have to believe that this is going to get you that loyalty that is going to build your business over time. Do you see the loyalty coming? We do, and I think it's loyalty, and then at the moment we're seeing some really exciting anticipation, because we're opening up this space out in Troutdale. We signed the lease 2 years ago, so we're really, you know, keeping people hanging. But we've been trying to be really proactive about doing events out there and engaging with the community even before we open. And, you know, people are so excited, and there's often, you know, weekly I get a message, whether it's an email or an Instagram or a Facebook, like, is it still happening? Are you still doing it? So, I think that loyalty, but also the excitement of what's to come is also, like, very tangible.
Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West. dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Camper Vans, a luxury camper van rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra camper vans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables,
and enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Very cool.
This last
question.
Whoa. Go for it.
Niki may have already answered this in a way. She's already answered it in many ways through what you've been talking about. But and we talk about one of the themes is pleasantly rebellious. And it sounds like that's what you are, right? You're trying to just shake things up, not for the sake of it, but because it's motivating to you, but it's going to make a difference to people around you. But what does it take, do you think, in your experience, to create something that never existed before? And can have a long think about it. It's good.
Yeah, I think, there's that thing that we were just talking about, trusting in your gut. Like, you have to believe in the why of why you're doing this and what you think is important and different about it. Determination, load of hard work, mistakes, humbleness, all that, just focusing and following what you believe in, but also understanding that you may have to shift a little bit along the way. And then honestly, just like a really good dose of innocent optimism that you're going to do it better than everyone else. And, I think you need that kind of, I don't know if innocent is the right word, but yeah, just that real belief that no one else has done this, that's okay. I can do it, and I'm going to succeed.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in 2 ways. 1, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, @the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.